Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And a lot of discussion these last several days has been about this OpTic Dallas merger, which is rumoured to be going on right now, and what potentially this roster could mean for the future of the CDL. Is it going to be good? Could it potentially fall short still of the Atlanta FaZe squads they are trying to topple? Some pros certainly think that could be a possibility. Very much intrigued to get your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel, thank you very much for doing that. Of course, this is what the COD come out with yesterday. Play the GM, you get to build it brick by brick. Who are you choosing? Who knows if OpTic Chicago as a brand even exists next year? That is, well, certainly up in the air. Scump, Dashy, Shotzzy, and Slasher could be, well, a pretty nasty one. Slasher to OpTic could be kind of fun, but it is not the going rumour at the present time. First of all, wanted to mention a few other Rostermania things, because things are coming out all the time. Tweets on the timeline, who even really knows? There's some Awakening rides, you know, kind of mind blown. Not really sure what Florida will decide to do here going forward, because at the end of the day, if Neptune is still signed, I would make sure I keep him, to be honest. Then I'm thinking about, do I keep Skies? Do I keep Awakening? Like Havoc's over there as well. I think, to be honest, you probably want to make at least a two-man change. I think personally I would pick Skies and Neptune and try and maybe trade Awakening somewhere else or get a decent amount of cash for him, because I think Awakening can be a great piece of another team in that flex role. But the latter half of this season didn't necessarily prove that so much on the Florida Mutineers. So interesting to see how this one goes also. But the York Subliners, a massive question to me, because Prestinni tweets this out. Of course, you know, we never really know what Prestinni's thinking on the timeline, but I'm sure he is brewing something behind the scenes. The Crimsix question is very much up in the air. Prestinni's here, like, I'm trying to think, okay, what's going on with the Subliners? Do Clay and Crim team up again? Clay and Crimsix, if you guys aren't aware, are technically, at least in terms of their placings together, the most successful duo in COD history, at least in terms of average placings. The average placing is like under 2, like it's something ridiculous. They basically always make a grand finals as teammates. They pretty much always make a top 4 as teammates, even from way back in the day in like Complexity and Ghost to just last year on the Dallas Empire. They were obviously thinking about teaming up earlier this year when Clay to Dallas was a very real possibility, but then York got quite good in Stage 3 and they decided not to do that. And you know, with Crimsix being a free agent, I'm sure they've had their chats behind the scenes. Now, whether Clace is still part of New York, what they decide to do over there, you've obviously got talks about Los Angeles Thieves. Are they going to get Octane? What does that mean for Slasher? Like, there's going to be so many chaotic teams going forwards. But Clace also goes on to say, right here, God, I love the off season. I could be a DJ and sleep until 1 p.m. every day. But don't worry, I'm immediately on the phone while still laying in bed. So, you know, not all fun and games on the phone, of course, discussing Rostermania potential for next year. And, you know, Zero said this as well, cannot sleep, because I'm sure it's a difficult time, you know, pretty stressed for these pro players, trying to figure out what it looks like for them next season, whether they have an offer lined up, what potential offers they could potentially go for, but also getting things actually signed and locked in, because until things are signed and locked in, you never really know what is potentially going to happen. Thought this is really cool as well, actually, from Parasite. There was a fair bit of Black Ops 2 8s going on yesterday. I saw on some people's timelines, Black Ops 2 8 was like trending in their kind of For You trending section, which is the first time in like, well, a very long time that has been the case. Parasite and some other people were playing it. Seems like a pretty good time, honestly, on this like plutonium thing. You can have aim assist on controller, and it does look really, really fun. But well, as Parasite says this, you know, nowadays you have people loaded into a map with one class for the entire series, which is kind of a fair point. Like nowadays, you don't really have to switch up anything. You just have one class in, and that's good enough. Whereas back in the day, you'd have to have like your EMP class, and you'd have to have your class like to shoot down kill streaks and stuff with LMGs. Then you have many different classes with like maybe you'd start out the game with Tac Mask, and then the other team would like stop using their stuns and pull out EMPs. Then you would change your class to like a hardwired class if you wanted to, or just take off Tac Mask entirely. There was so much strategy involved in the weapon metas, but also the, you know, the attachment of the perk metas. You don't really get anymore. You basically just choose your SMG or your AR class and you run it into combat again and again and again. Let's talk about this discussion then, right? Because hints coming out every single day at this point that OpTic Gaming are well, no longer going to be trading in their current form. The discussion effectively is OpTic cannot be funded, OpTic Chicago cannot be funded solely by Hex, therefore they need some sort of additional ownership group or additional well, backing to make it happen. Now NRG is currently in place, but Hex kind of wants to break off from them. Envy, a potential option to actually, well, take over OpTic Gaming in a sense, keep the OpTic name and branding, I suppose, for the Dallas slot, and then potentially allow that combination to expand into other esports going forwards. This was noticed yesterday, so this is not like the trademark being rescinded, I'm pretty sure, but it's like the dissolution of the company in terms of trading. So OpTic Gaming LLC does not seem since the 20th of August, so pretty much the middle of the World Championship, to be trading and doing business. You can see this is the proper while, like Frisco, Texas, all this type of stuff. OpTic Gaming LLC, trading for this period and all this type of stuff. So it's somewhat interesting to see how this goes going forwards. But potentially another indication, this rumor that we see from Crown a few days ago is indeed going to come true. There's been a lot of discussion as well what the logo could look like. At the end of the day, Hex does not want to enter into a relationship where it's not OpTic X or something along those lines. And I'm sure he also wants to bring the green along. But to be fair, this logo right here from Devil is actually pretty nice. I think maybe some green thrown in, and Hex might actually sign that one off. So kind of a combination between the two. It's tough to see going forwards. Obviously, you want something that can be easily like embroidered onto shirts and merchandise and this type of stuff as well. And Hex is like, that's kind of Hex's bread and butter, to be honest. So interesting to see how this one goes. But of course, this is the rumor that came out a few days ago. And of course, we've talked about it. Scump, Dashy, Shotzzy, and ILLey. That could be pretty crazy. We haven't really done a deep dive on the potential of this roster though, and how they could compete with Atlanta FaZe. Because FaZe obviously are the team that everyone wants to beat. We saw the other day, pros were like, yeah, people are trying to put together the Avengers to take down Atlanta FaZe. This is kind of the first, super team, I suppose, that we've seen formed since the Atlanta FaZe have given it a go. If it does happen, things haven't been signed yet, I imagine. Things that can't be signed for another few days, at least until September the 5th. Then things can actually get, pen to paper and things can get going. But until then, of course, everything can change. This is speculation for now. But of course, a lot of discussion about this team because on paper, the talent is absolutely disgusting. But do they have quite what they need to take down FaZe? Because to be honest, the OpTic team of last season, the Dallas team for last season, they maybe the Dallas team lacked firepower at times, and the OpTic team maybe lacked discipline and the ability to get over the line and clutch up in the game 5s and these important maps. Despite all the talent in the world on this squad, do they quite have what it takes to get that done? Again, certainly some discussion on the flank a couple of days ago about the possibility of them maybe lacking COD IQ and not keeping up with the game quite as much, and also relying very much on ILLey to kind of be their in-game leader could be a bit of a question mark, and potentially lacking that discipline and kind of plan B attitude that Ben always talks about that OpTic kind of had issues with this past year.
I think it's good to have Brandon on a main now. I think it was a good move to just get him away from playing with other mains and just let him have that role, let him have that title. That's the one position or you would want on your team where someone can just go get a lot of kills, play for kills. That's almost his job, for the most part. So it fits him well. I think they have a chance to be a force. The only thing I'm worried about is making sure that they are on the same page and that the COD IQ of the team keeps developing and growing and they have a good system developing.
No, I agree. I think one thing we can't deny, like both of you said, is the talent's just unreal. I mean, they have a lot of talent from top to bottom. And maybe that's what they were thinking, with FaZe, just try and stack talent and try and make it work. Because I think the most important thing that people are talking about now is just kind of like an IGL, kind of like the vocal point of that team. I think they can figure it out. It might be.
But I worry about it because I think Envoy was like their shot caller in game, and for Dallas, I have to assume it was who, Crim. I'm assuming Crim was the one calling the shots.
Yeah.
I think it has to be Ender to step up, right? Like Brandon's not going to become the shot caller.
Yeah.
It's gonna be very interesting to watch this roster play out because I think either they're going to be amazing, or they're going to be kind of having a lot of the same issues that the old OpTic team had. Not really the Dallas team because I don't see a slaying problem, but in terms of organization from the OpTic team of this year, I could see kind of that happening again with the squad.
So I think the big question mark to a lot of people is the ILLey question mark, because Scump and Shotzzy, that should be absolutely disgusting. Dashy on the main AR, I think is a fantastic move. I think it makes a lot of sense him to just sit there, get a load of kills, but ILLey is the big question mark, because to be honest, in that kind of flex role, you could see a lot of players fitting into that role that could bring a lot in terms of, discipline and team cohesion and this type of stuff to the team, but also potentially a massive amount of slaying power. ILLey, this past couple of seasons, hasn't necessarily provided all of that, so I think there is a lot of pressure on ILLey to actually perform here and show that he can do it. Also in terms of being an in-game leader, they kind of lost that in Envoy, right? Envoy's communication, Foremost communication, both massive things, and not necessarily you're going to get that from this squad of 4 that is being rumoured right now. So I think a lot of pressure on ILLey to make this happen. The benefit this team does have is that the search and destroy should be spectacular. Dashy and ILLey run the S&D scene for years. Scump was fantastic this season, as was Shotzzy. We'll look at a couple of stats here in a second that back that one up. So certainly they should be great in search and destroy. That's the thing though, FaZe are always going to be there. That's the team that everyone's trying to beat, and they pretty much have everything going for them. Not only do they have all the talent in the world, but they also have the consistency and the teamwork and to be fair, ability to get over the line and win events that these last couple of years these players haven't necessarily done all that often. They've done it a few times, but not incredibly often, especially this past year's OpTic team. Whenever things came down to the wire, they tended to fall short. So ILLey, I think, is definitely pressure on his back if this team does form to make this happen. But on paper, this team is absolutely disgusting, right? This SMG duo is definitely definitely a scary one. Dashy and ILLey as well have been, well, I'm pretty sure they've wanted to team up together probably for quite a while now in the professional side. It would be great to see. As I say, I'm not sure the logo is going to be this necessarily, but it's at least the rumour that is going around at the present time. Wanted to talk about this in the last couple of minutes then, because a lot of talk from, well, Edgar, this is a, supposed cod burner, talking about salaries in the league right now. So most of these leagues you can see on the left-hand side here, this is a player compensation list for the whole roster expressed as a percentage of revenue for the teams. This is basically saying that the CDL pays their players way too much in comparison to how much the actual teams are earning in the league, which is nowhere near enough. I kind of wonder what this looks like for other esports leagues, because of course these established sports leagues, this kind of makes sense that you pay your players a lower percentage than 100% of what you're actually earning. For the CDL, that's kind of the other way around, and these players are, well, making a lot of money, at least in comparison to what the leagues are earning. I'm sure Activision is pocketing a fair amount of it as well, so some discussion there, no doubt. Of course, talking about that OpTic team, right, this is relevant stats, very interesting. Number of 1vx clutches this season through the entirety of 2021 season. Shotzzy actually had the most at 10, Scump at second at 9, so that's your SMG duo going forwards. If this indeed is the case, pretty scary to think about. Scump, honestly, it felt like didn't even lose a 1v1 this entire year, but I mean, Shotzzy actually tops the list at, a 10 1vx, that's still 1v1, 1v2, 1v3, 1v4, like pretty much whatever situation you could be put in. If you clutch it from a 1vx, then you're going to get put on this list, and Shotzzy and Scump are leading it up. This I thought was also very interesting, so this is the lowest trade percentages, so if you die, how many of those deaths are actually traded out, and this happens very rarely for a guy like Awakening, for example. So these players generally playing on an island, so if you die like Awakening or something, then it's pretty rare that kill gets traded within 5 seconds, so maybe something for these teams to think about. Definitely some really interesting stats here, the round 11 stats puts out on the daily. If you're an organisation, having some analysis on this type of stuff would be very valuable indeed. And just to finish off with this, I thought it was hilarious, honestly, from Crone. Just a few years ago, you guys might remember this clip. I mean, I remember watching this the night it came out. The Nadeshot on Bows and Nadeshot on Merc for a time as well would do the road to 100-0, Black Ops 3 game battles, 2 versus 2 stuff. And this clip at the start is absolutely hilarious if you guys haven't seen it before, when Nadeshot kind of says his outro as his intro, and then he actually did it again yesterday in some video he was doing a little bit more recently for 100 Thieves. But very much intriguing your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm. And you enjoy this content, other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care, and I will see you next time.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys have a wonderful day in YouTube. How the fudge you doing? Hey guys, Nadeshot today. Oh, what the, oh my Yo, I just had an aneurysm, bro. YouTube will see you fudge later. What just happened, bro? My brain just it just had like 2 thought processes disconnected into one. Oh my god, goodbye.
Let us know what should we, bro, hold on, I'm gonna have a panic attack. I'm not even kidding. Let us know what you would like us to react to next. And YouTube, how the fudge you do